guys, welcome back to the channel. And we got another recap of Married at First Sight, Boston, episode number 16. This is season 14. And yeah, the question on this episode was, are you in or are you out? And yeah, we're going to talk about it because we are almost done with this season. Can you guys believe it's actually been almost 8 weeks that has passed? Uh, for me, I honestly think that it's been dragging on because, of course, the season started back in January, and I think when everything is officially over with the reunions, it will be well into May. So we're looking at 5 months with this particular season. I think the last longest season that I've actually seen was season 12, where, yeah, it went into almost June of 2021. So, yeah, this is what we have here. But before we unpack all of this in this episode, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications. If you like the video, smash the like button and feel free to drop a comment down in the comment section below. So, not going to waste any more time here. Without further ado, let's jump into this recap. So, as I mentioned, it's been almost 8 weeks. They're at the 7 week mark, um, where the four couples are getting ready to prepare to make their final decision. Now, I will say the idea of staying married definitely was a nice ring for some of these couples, while others they had to turn to their friends and family to kind of help them sway their final decisions. And tonight we also saw one groom may have given his wife a hint to his decision. I just think it was technically a cliffhanger. But um it kind of gave a hint on when he casually admits that he would get over her if the divorce came to pass. So, you know what? Let's just get straight into this recap. So, the first couple we're going to talk about in this particular recap is Elijahwan and Katina. So Elijahwan got to sit down and meet with his former coach, and we've seen him a few times this season. We see that O discussed with him some of the hesitations that he had regarding the marriage. Now, he is kind of struggling with the idea of building a life with someone who is in a different stage of it than he is. As we know, Katina is working on her associate degrees with the hopes of also becoming a nurse. And, you know, some folks admire her goals, others see that it's going to be a real challenge. And Elijah is one of those people. He's having a difficult time foreseeing a future where they may or may not be able to do the types of things that at this stage he feels that they should be ready to do as a husband and a wife, such as travel and kids. And you know, honestly, I listen. It's tough raising, having children at whatever age it is, even if it's a single parent or two parents in the household. Um, the thing with this couple is that this is not a traditional way of going about marriage and dating. They've only known each other for 6 weeks. Prior to the wedding day, they had no idea that the other person had even existed, right? So now you come into a marriage, you got to learn in 6 weeks. I mean, you got to learn in 8 weeks and then make a decision whether or not do I actually stay legally married to this person with everything that I got going on in my life, whatever they're trying to do in their life. And I mean, he even told her, I'm going to need you to be selfish about your decision. We kind of saw that at the end of episode 16. But it's hard. It's going to be a challenge. Can it be done? Of course. So, I don't want people to say, oh, people go to college and do stuff at any age. Absolutely. They do. Most folks go right after high school and then graduate probably around 22 ish. But, when you're trying to put all that together in a marriage, a baby, a new career, school, you got finals, all of that wrapped up into one, It can be tough. And I don't think he wouldn't support her, but it's going to be tough too on his end because the man works 16-hour shifts and he has a swing shift working for the city of Massachusetts. I mean, for the city of Boston. So, um, it's going to be something to consider. Now, I am glad that they are having the conversation. He didn't completely shut her out. He actually want to know, how do you think we can get this to work? And I know they probably had conversations off camera as well. Because as they say, and I've heard other cast members say this, you only get to see 1% of what happened. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just glad that they're open to having this conversation. So later on, we did see Elijahwan have a meetup at the park with Lindsay. Now, originally, you guys remember back early in the season, these two were enemies, including his wife, because we seen the interactions between Lindsay and Katina. We remember what happened on the plane. We remember what happened on the bus. We remember all of that. But obviously, they must have mended fences because now we hear about the rooftop conversations and then this whole conversation that we saw in episode 16. So he started to share with Lindsay his doubts on whether his marriage could thrive with he and his life, and how Katina's life is at so many different stages at this point. He also still feels that she still have a lot more to learn. And you know what? Honestly, he mentioned some things later, which I'll talk about at the romantic date that they had. But everybody, every day is a learning process. So, yeah, she might have some more to learn, but obviously he does too. Um, he also feels that she has no life skills. And yeah, we've heard that before. Yeah, that's the thing. And here's the problem. I venture into the different comment sections and I see a lot of what's going on, and a lot of people are not feeling Elijah, and it's mostly the women. Yeah, the thing is that women have a lot of standards for men. They don't want them to be broke. They want them to man up. They want them to be this, be that, X, Y, and Z. Well, men also want something too. And the only difference between women and men in the situation is that women tend to be able to voice what they want in their standards, whereas if men have those same standards, they're being belittled, devalued, broken down. Because I've seen, even with everything he said about him having a house, him having no debt, him graduating from college, him going into a career, that stuff was so tore down by so many people. They wanted receipts. I mean, it was crazy. But Merla did the same thing last season. I mean, she had a life that she built. She had the money. She had all of that. And it was on the flip side, and people had issues with Merle, but there were a lot of folks that was like, "You'll need to man up. He needs to get a better job. He need to do this. He need to meet up to her level. He's out of his league. She's too above him," and all of these different things. This time it's in the reverse on this season, and he getting all kind of flack. So I kind of wanted to point that out. I tend to call it down the middle on my channel. Some people might like that, some people don't. It is what it is. But people, male or female, if they feel accomplished about some of the things that they do, they can get to choose to speak on it as they wish. Now, do I think that he was putting her down? I think he acknowledges where he came from, how hard it was to get there, you know, and where he is in life, and he's very accomplished, especially coming from his background that we saw in episode 15. But for the most part, he really is happy about where he is. And whether people look at that as him as boasting, hey, both men and women do that all the time. So I see it for what it is. Now, let's talk about their romantic dinner. They had one last romantic dinner before decision day. Um, I thought it was really sweet. I really liked it. I liked the openness in the conversation they had. Now, people would say easily, "Oh, Katina, you need to run. Take off your rose-colored glasses." Blah blah blah. She made a statement that was really interesting last night. That statement was, "Elijahwan, I like the tough love that you give. I'm here for it. I like it." When somebody says that, and obviously there's other things and connections that they have off camera because they like to laugh a lot. She says she hasn't laughed this much in any relationship. And, you got to let people just take their own path. I'm not going to criticize her for how she feels. People choose to move in relationships the way that they do. On the flip side, I also heard Elijah once say that being in a relationship with Katina, he has learned to grow from a boy to a man. So obviously, as much as he was saying to Lindsay earlier about, oh, she needs so much to learn, obviously he felt that he had to learn some things too. Those things don't get dismissed. I know a lot of people get into their feelings about how they feel about him. I listen to what's being said and also take it for a grain of salt because I like to see these people outside of the season, outside of the cameras. But in this situation, I really enjoyed the romantic dinner that they had. Um, we did see right before they left for decision day, where Elijah wants to say, whatever you choose to do, be selfish. Pick whatever decision you want to do, make it about you and what you is best for you, whether it's to be in a marriage with him or whether it's to remain single and get a divorce. I mean, and I don't see anything wrong with that statement. And, he also said that, if you tell me you want to get a divorce, of course it will hurt, but eventually I get over it. And he's not lying. Most people at some point through breakups or whatever it is, eventually you heal from it. You'll get over it. And I don't know if people expected him to say, "Oh my God, I can't live without you. I'll never breathe again." That's unrealistic. Most men and women, yes, it hurts from the initial shock. It take a little bit of time, but eventually you move on. You can't stay stuck for 50 years. You have to heal your wounds and be able to move forward. So I totally understood where he was coming from. All right, let's move into our next couple. Speaking of Lindsay, we got Lindsay and Mark. And Lindsay decided to test her husband. And it wasn't a mental test, it wasn't even a physical test. Well, it could be. She decided to test Mark's ability to procreate if they choose to stay together. Now, let me say this, I don't understand this particular clip. I don't know if production told them, "Hey, we need some content on you guys. Let's come up with something crazy and you're going to take a fertility test and we'll stand behind the door while you make a deposit." That had to be one of the tensest moments. Could you imagine the pressure of cameras outside of your door and then you have to make a DNA deposit into a cup? Your wife is in there trying to help you. He was like, "Can we get a video?" She's kind of offended, like, "Well, what about me? Can I help you get there?" That whole thing was so crazy. And then she comes out because after looking at the DNA deposit, she said he must be dehydrated because his DNA was the consistency of Elmer glue. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't understand this whole thing. Maybe it was Lindsay idea. It's crazy enough to be so. But I just think like, why? Why? I mean, seriously. And then you show them dropping it, syringing it out of whatever and putting it into the tester. Or was it an endorsement for the brand of fertility tests? I don't know. But despite, Mark's being a little humiliated by all of this, they were happy to find out that there's hope for a baby shark at least. So Mark later on meets with one of his friends to kind of share some of the things that he's been struggling with. He made a decision to move his mom into a care facility after, of course, it became apparent that she wasn't able to take care of herself. Now, he does love the fact that Lindsay support him, but he is torn because of the up and down roller coaster of their relationship. Now, his friend told him that if he had found somebody who sticks around during all of the tough times, which include a lot of the stuff we saw, which was the bed bug infestation and all of that stuff, then that's something that he shouldn't ignore. Mark feels that he may need to have some time alone to see if he misses her, and I can understand that. But, I honestly don't know about these two. I just think there are so many differences between them. And then she gets triggered really easy. She's a firecracker, So I don't know if long term that's something that Mark could deal with, but we'll have to see. So Mark also later on, plans a romantic dinner at his mom's home where he actually served sushi. So you guys remember, he didn't like sushi. He was like, you know how Mark's eyes get real big and they bought that sushi boat in front of him? Oh yeah, he was not here for it. Well, this particular time for Lindsay and their last dinner date, he decides to have sushi. He did thank Lindsay for all of the help during all of those hard times. Now, things were going pretty well at this dinner until she suggests all of the ways that she would change the house if they really lived there. And I'm like, no, Lindsay, no, not right now. No, timing is everything. I mean, the mom, he just put the mom, had her go to a retirement facility or whatever. It's too soon. I understand Lindsay kind of don't want the remnants and kind of may want to make changes about the house and everything that the mom and even his grandmother had in that space, but I don't think that this dinner party or this dinner romantic dinner was the right time to talk about a renovation or even a planned one. So I don't know about these two. We got to wait and see for decision day whether or not both Lindsay and Mark are going to say yes, no, or what's going to happen after the reunion. I mean, after the reunion, we'll see. Let's move on to our next couple. And our next couple is Noy and Steve. So Noy get to meet with her friend, and she is still venting about her frustrations in the marriage, being still annoyed that Steve still hasn't gotten a job or even made plans for their future. Steve, however, invites his friend over to shop for another wedding ring for Noy. And did you see that? That diamond was 1.18 carats. So, yeah. I mean, she's over there venting about the job and the plan. He's picking out a wedding ring. That thing is kind of cute. I like it. Um, he's doing something to make her happy. She's talking about and complaining about him. I don't know about these two. I'm hoping that this was just something, I don't know. I thought it was cool though, because normally they have to continue to wear the wedding rings or the little band that they have to wear throughout the season. The only time we saw maybe somebody switch it up with wedding rings was at the reunion on season 11, where Woody gave Amani and reproposed with a new ring. But other than that, normally they wear those little bands that they get at the wedding day. So I thought it was pretty cool that they allowed Steve to be able to do that on camera. I like that. Um, Now, I honestly see, that he tends to go above and beyond, and she minimize the contributions that he make. I mean, if they stay together, they got a lot to talk about. Noy, if this is who she is from what we see, she's going to have to learn to compromise if she wants this, marriage to work. Now, Steve also is going to need to develop some type of plan on how he intends to provide financially. And for some reason, I think he's already done that because Steve at the dinner party was like, I mean, at the dinner party, I'm thinking about Married at First Sight Australia. at the romantic dinner date, he said, I already talked to you about this. So obviously, either they're overplaying this, production is, or she's just not content with what he has told her. So let's talk about that dinner. Steve and Noy, they discussed their intentions to live apart if they stay together after decision day. I don't get that. Now, obviously, Steve wants to live together while she isn't comfortable doing so because she's worried about his ability to contribute financially. And I don't blame him. He's frustrated that his wife doesn't seem to have zero faith in him, despite his past, his careers, what he has done and provided so far. Because the other thing is, he's cooking and cleaning at the house, taking the dog out, and doing all that stuff, and it's just not enough. You know, kind of go bad to worse when they get home because Steve starts to reflect on his marriage and how it may be one sided. I don't get the whole thing about her wanting to live apart. What did you sign up on this show for? Now, like I said, this could be an overplayed narrative. Production have a way of creating storylines. We've seen that. But if this is true, it doesn't make sense. Married at first sight. This ain't Love Island. This isn't where you're dating, ready to love. We're gonna live apart first, like with Joy and Clifton. I gotta go out of the country for a year. We gotta do distance. That ain't it. This is married at first sight. You signed up to marry this dude. Why don't you want to live with him? And then it made it worse. And listen, if that worked for Dr. Pepper, fine. She lived for apart from her husband. But in all actuality, that don't work for the majority. I mean, seriously. You might have separate rooms in the house, but living in two separate houses, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Sometimes, like I said, stuff can be overplayed, but I honestly think that they can work through this. They just got to compromise. All right. Now, last but not least, we have Michael and Jasmina. So Michael visited his sisters for some advice on what he should do on decision day. Now, despite his family wanting him to be married, they also want him to be happy. And I totally get that. I mean, seriously. Jasmina speaks with one of her male friends about her feelings. Now, although she did say they're in a good place, she still doesn't feel a romantic connection with him. She's just not into him. Um, she reveals that she could possibly get there if Michael took more of initiative. And I'm like, what? You know that's not going to be easy. If that guy tried to come and, slowly lay hands or kind of say, come here or talk sweet whispers, I don't see Jasmina just letting those walls down because she got to meet him halfway. She got to find some romantic connection. You cannot say, I don't feel feelings for somebody only if they come and approach me. No, it's going to be uncomfortable. You already got to be sexually attracted or have some form of connection with that person for you to want them to even come and do whatever, right? Um, and then also like what happened in the conversation with Michael and his sisters, where he was like, I want my wife to be my best friend, but I don't want her to be just my best friend. That makes 100% sense. I mean, this is not best friend at first sight. This is married at first sight. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't get that. And her friend tells her that, she needs to tell him how she's feeling and be more direct about what she needs. Absolutely. Honestly think these two can work. They got stuff that they want from the other, but they just too scared to bring it together. And that suck because they could end up losing out on a great relationship. Michael and Jazz did have fun later that night on a night out dancing. During dinner, he did apologize for times he wasted early on in the marriage. Um, and we saw her kind of shoot him down, stating that she's in a place where she could feel that it would be just friendship. And I'm like, oh God. Well, can we give her the emoji eye roll right here? I mean, man, at this point, the signs are all there. Now, I do see something that's pretty darn interesting with this dynamic. We have seen men in the past that have not been interested in their partners, and they got the blues for that. What I do see with Jazz, she gets criticism, but not as harshly as we see that the men has gotten when they're not into or attracted to the female partners in their relationships. I just find that interesting. I just see comments like, "Oh, well, she's just not into him," or maybe she's not into short guys, or it's just not a good fit. Maybe he needs to do find somebody else. It wasn't that simple when the shoe was on the other foot. So, like I say, I call it down the middle here. But Jazz, honestly, she could be missing out on a great guy. I mean, for him to do a full circle, he's trying to prove himself to her. It's just not there. And that's just so unfortunate because this was one couple that I had high hopes about in the beginning. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to say yes on decision day. I know a lot of people are hoping for a surprise, but we will have to see. So we won't see decision day until May 11th. Next week, we got that countdown to decision day. I don't know if I'm going to watch it. Couple of things that was said. I think Mika's on there, Paige, Gil. We saw AJ and Steph. I don't know if anybody else from other seasons besides the ones I mentioned. An interesting thing is AJ made a statement about Elijahwan and Katina saying that he's going to be a bad husband, that marriage is not going to work. He said the exact same thing about Woody, and we see the same. 2 years later, they're still married and got a baby due in probably like 6 or 7 weeks. So I take what he's saying with a grain of salt. We'll have to see how the marriages are going to turn out. But I mean, he's entitled to his opinion, so it is what it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. I'm pretty much glad the season is over. I can't wait to see what happens after decision day, after the reunions, because I like to see these couples in their real element and what happens. So until the next video, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye.